Islam and the left are like the walking dead. The left's marriage with Islam will turn out to be the fall of the Western world. A few of them and you have no issues, but a big group and we're in big trouble. I've been thinking a lot lately about how the left's ideology and also Islam can be mapped perfectly on the zombie-like approach of human beings without a brain, but still moving around and eating, making life miserable for everyone, empty of autonomous action, like the zombies on The Walking Dead. Because it's not autonomy of thought and rationality that drives the action of people on the left and Islam, that's for sure. Where should we start? The complete emptiness of reason that the left's dogma demands you accept and follow. Otherwise, you're a far right, you're Nazi, you're a bigot. We all know. Islam is best viewed as a totalitarian ideology rather than just a mere set of beliefs or a religion. Islam is a totalitarian view on how life should be lived, and they impose it on you. If you don't agree with the left's premise that we should let everyone in from anywhere in the world really, but mostly North Africa, Muslim Asian countries, you're again a Nazi, far right, a bigot, racist. You should be named and shamed publicly for basically wanting to defend your country.
He wraps himself in our flag. We must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain what it is. It is racist. I say not in our country, not in our name, not in our time.
Really?
Without taking into consideration the possible risks that bringing everyone from everywhere can entail, countries where people resolve their problems with violence, or countries that have a backwards view on how women should be treated, see women as cattle or second-class citizens, I think it's reasonable and logical to try to limit the number of people that come from those countries, with just having in mind that people from those countries should be kept to an absolutely necessary minimum. That seems like the logical and reasonable thing to do, but again, the zombie-like people on the left are void with any connection to reality and its consequences. No brains, just moving around, eating, drinking, but in the end, they're just an empty shell, void of thoughts or any kind of morality. What about Islam? How are they like zombies? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you want to critique Islam, for example, its infringement on the rights of women, critique the teachings of Islam towards anyone who doesn't believe in their God, critique the way the Quran says that people who don't believe in their God should be treated, the non-believers, us, in the Quran, we're meant to either convert to Islam. If we refuse to do so, pay the jizya, the extortion tax, and if we continue to refuse, be killed.
The Prophet says, the first thing you do is call them to Islam. If they accept it, leave them. Khalas, they're Muslims, we go. We don't want your country, we don't want your land, we don't want your wealth. If they refuse, then tell them Allah obliged upon you to pay taxation, jizya. So we take jizya, and in return, when enemy comes and attack your country, you don't fight. We Muslims protect you. If they refuse, then we have to fight. And if we fight you, then we capture you, you become our slaves, and we take your land, and you take because you refuse, I give you two good options.
Spartans! What is your profession?
See, old friend, I brought more soldiers than you did.
If you critique anything of this sort about Islam, you're an Islamophobe, a bigot, Nazi, far right, you know the drill. If you critique the treatment of white girls by the rape gangs, majority Muslim Pakistani men, I should say, by the way, again, you're an Islamophobe. Do you start to see a pattern here? Any criticism of either the left's dogma or Islam's dogma will straight away put you at war with them. It's either you agree with us or you're against us and should be punished for it. It's almost as if they're void of any self-criticism whatsoever. You're wrong and they're always right. Empty-minded zombies, if you ask me. What's worse about this is that many of the leftists who are publicly supporting this, they're literally in favor of their own destruction. They support Islam, an ideology that, if it were to gain the upper hand in society, would erase them off the face of the earth, and they would be the first in line. Who do you think the Islamists will try to take out first? The conservatives and right-wingers, who at least have a modicum of similarities between the Islamists and them in terms of more traditional way of life, family values, religion, tradition, etc. Or the leftist, transgender, they, them, non-binary, furries, LGBTQ rainbow people? Who do you think would go down first if Islam, by whatever twisted turn of the tide, were to gain the reins on society? Islam would at least try to win the conservatives to their side, without succeeding, I might add, but they would try nonetheless. Can't they see that? You tell me if you truly believe the left is so blinded by their suicidal empathy that they cannot see the extreme danger they are in. When I see women defending Islam, my heart just sinks to the floor. Western, free women that in the past fought so hard to have the same rights as men do.
Is this like an anti-Muslim rhetoric you have
No.
here?
That you know how many terror attacks took place by Muslims all around the world since 9/11 on behalf of Islam?
I genuinely, I'm not too sure that I want to get engaged in this conversation. I don't really feel like we'll have a lot to talk about, and I don't like what you just said by Muslims.
You don't have to like it. It's,
That's
it's
like
factual.
generalizing, categorizing.
I'm not generalizing, but even if you take 10%,
Muslims in with the extremism. And then how many terror attacks have taken place?
46,000 since 9/11 in 70 different countries on the name of Islam, on behalf of Islam.
Fighting for an ideology that would have them enslaved and in chains to men. Yet they blindly defend Islam without thinking of all of the consequences if Islam were to actually have real power, politically or socially. This can, at least in part, be laid down to women's nurturing side and avoidance of conflict. They avoid conflict, it's their instinct, and it's necessary to raise children. We all know women have always been more empathetic than men. But I've come across now a few people that say, and I really like this, that we're living in the era of women-dominated narratives. Media, politics, business, academia. It seems that suicidal empathy, it's what's driving all of Western society at the moment. While masculinity traits, the traits needed for a society to prosper and flourish, are being artificially squashed and put down. Men are told they're toxic, if they have drive, strength is seen as vice, not virtue. Competition to be the greatest in any domain is seen as bigoted, oppressive, or even racist. Trophies for participating, nobody's better than anyone, we're all the same, it's all sunshine, rainbows, it's all amazing, and just be nice to everyone. See where that takes you in real life, in war, politics, business. That's how you treat a child, not how society is meant to be run. This is all done by the Western women's suicidal empathy narrative that's gripping our society underlying structure at the moment. Not actually thinking of how it could drive Western society to its knees, or even worse, an actual war. It will be incumbent on us men to step up, Western men, to fulfill their roles. Just to fulfill the roles as leaders, protectors of the culture and society, protectors of women, even if protecting women means protecting them against themselves. Protect children, as it's been done for thousands and thousands of years, to be warriors, spiritually or physically, if that's what's required of us. Let's hope, and I truly hope we can steer the ship around before that, but we have to be ready. Empathy with no limits makes a person a pushover, and a country ripe for the taking. Defending what our ancestors fought so hard to preserve is not far right, it's not bigoted or extreme, it's our duty as men, even if now we are demonized for doing it. Doing what is right is not dependent on whether it looks cool or it makes you popular or liked by everyone. Doing what is right is doing it even if it's to your own detriment, even if you will suffer for it, or in the worst case scenario, if you are imprisoned or killed for it. Doing what is right is what everyone is called upon to do so at some point in their life. And we better be prepared again spiritually and mentally for when that day comes, because it can come at any moment. We live such a easy life here in the West. We've never gone through real hardships, and I mean like real hardships. The supermarkets are overflowing with food. You turn the light switch and you have light. It could change at any moment. The only thing we can do is be prepared for it and hope it never comes. Western Europe stands at a crossroads right now. The next few years could decide the next 500. I definitely know where I stand. Do you? Thank you very much for watching, and like always, see you in the next one.